It has been several years since the Duggar family's world came crashing down in the wake of scandals that irreparably ruined their image as a good Christian family. On the other hand, frightening new allegations are coming to light, and they are more upsetting than they have ever been before. Josh Duggar is said to have made inappropriate comments about incest while he was chaperoning his younger siblings, according to various insider sources. This occurred a significant amount of time before the private secrets of the Duggar family were made public. The already problematic legacy of the oldest Duggar brother, who is presently serving a 12-year prison sentence for possession of CSAM child sexual abuse material, is further complicated by these discoveries, which adds still another layer of discomfort to the situation. The new allegations not only hint to a highly problematic sense of humor, but they also raise troubling questions about the climate that exists within the Duggar household, which was formerly presented on national television as a picture of purity and biblical ideals. A family that is compromised with secrets behind closed doors. With 19 obedient children who were brought up under strong Christian discipline, courtships that were watched by vigilant parents, and no opportunity for worldly temptations, the Duggar family was widely regarded as a model of a perfect family by those who were not a part of it. On the other hand, what the cameras failed to catch, according to former insiders, was a poisonous environment that was characterized by fear, shame, and quiet, particularly in regard to Josh Duggar's behavior. Several acquaintances of Josh's family claimed that the warning signs were already present, even before the shocking revelation in 2015 that Josh had sexually abused multiple girls under the age of 18, including his own sisters. They also claim that individuals who were close to Josh knew more than they were willing to disclose. On the time that Josh was tasked with chaperoning his younger siblings on their outings and courtships, he was said to have made disturbing and inappropriate comments, according to a former acquaintance of the family who begged to remain anonymous. The source made the following statement: "He would make jokes that were not just in bad taste. They were downright creepy. Things about how close the siblings were, or how pretty one of his sisters looked, with this smirk that made your skin crawl," he used to say. Humor in the form of incest jokes? A chilling perspective. According to a number of testimonies from individuals who were once close to the Duggars, Josh frequently cracked jokes about incest while enforcing the stringent courtship regulations that the family had on the books. It was during these chaperoning positions that he reportedly made light of the very violations that he had committed. He was expected to protect his siblings from any inappropriate behavior that might occur during these responsibilities. According to the recollection of a former associate, he would say things like, "Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on them. Nobody knows the Duggar girls better than I do." Each and every one of us would laugh nervously, but on some level, we all knew that it was inappropriate. When Josh's history of abuse was brought to light several years later, the comments, which were purportedly disguised as jokes, took on a disturbing level of intensity. When he was a teenager, it was discovered that he had sexually assaulted several of his sisters as well as a babysitter. This was a reality that the family had concealed for a number of years before it was ultimately disclosed to the media. One of the things that makes the scenario even more horrific is the fact that Josh's jokes were said after his parents and the elders of the church had previously confronted him about the inappropriate behavior. What this indicates is that he was making improper statements after he had been detected, and when the family was attempting to minimize the damage and move on. An unsettling pattern that was ignored. Given the veracity of these testimonies, it appears that Josh not only did not make any effort to alter his behavior, but he also continued to utilize comedy as a means of deflecting and potentially even mocking the situation. Insiders report that Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar never corrected him in public and frequently dismissed his comments as Josh being silly. This is even more concerning than the last statement. According to the words of a family acquaintance, there was always this attitude of boys will be boys to begin with. He was not challenged by anyone. Nobody ever told him that what he was doing was inappropriate. In addition, the younger siblings have adjusted to the situation. They were unaware that nothing about it was typical. It has been reported that some of the younger Duggars, particularly the girls, experienced discomfort when being chaperoned by Josh, but they did not feel secure enough to express their concerns. The insiders stated that they would come up with reasons to avoid being in his presence. In contrast, you never questioned those in positions of authority in the Duggar household, and especially not the oldest brother. The price paid by his companions. In later years, the emotional toll that Josh's sisters, Jill, Jessa, Jinger, and Johannah, had to bear became increasingly apparent. Since then, a number of them have spoken out about the pain they experienced, the difficulty they had in forgiving another person, and the decisions they ultimately made to disassociate themselves from the stringent belief system of their parents. Jill Duggar Dillard, in particular, has been vocal about the long-term mental abuse she endured, particularly how her parents pressed her to defend Josh publicly when the molestation scandal surfaced in 2015. She has discussed this in interviews as well as in her biography, Counting the Cost. One of Jill's close friends is quoted as saying, "People don't realize how deep the damage ended up going. Josh's activities were not merely a private affair. Rather, they had an effect on the girls' perceptions of themselves, their sense of safety, and their sense of worth. And after everything that had taken place, would you be willing to listen to jokes like that? It re-traumatized them in a way. Do you know where the Duggars are?" As a result of his conviction in 2021 for downloading and having CSAM, Josh is currently serving his sentence at the Federal Correctional Institute in Seawald, Texas. He is scheduled to be released as early as 2032. Even though there has been tremendous criticism from the public, his wife, Anna Duggar, has maintained her support for him and has kept relatively silent. Both Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar have taken steps to withdraw from the public glare, as evidenced by their infrequent appearances in photographs and statements. They have been subjected to increasing criticism for the manner in which they dealt with Josh's crimes, especially the inability to disclose the abuse promptly and the pressure they placed on their daughters in order to protect their family's reputation. Despite the fact that they continue to preach traditional Christian values within their private circles, they have been hit with this criticism. Several of their adult offspring have disavowed the teachings of the Families Institute in Basic Life Principles (IBLP) and are now speaking out about their experiences of growing up under the severe supervision of the organization. And now what? Despite the fact that veteran Duggar observers are not completely taken aback by these most recent charges, it is nevertheless difficult to comprehend them. In addition, they point to a severely dysfunctional structure that enabled Josh Duggar to joke about controversial subjects while simultaneously retaining a position of control over his sisters. This suggests that there is a significant discrepancy between the public image of the family and their private factual situation. The greater problem, according to many who are opposed to the Duggar family and the IBLP organization, is accountability. This is not only for Josh, but also for those who allowed him to act in this manner. One of the sources stated that if people had listened to what was being conveyed earlier, perhaps things might have been different. They were overly concerned with safeguarding the ministry, the brand, and the name of the organization. And the girls were the ones that ended up paying the price. The complete picture of what transpired behind the scenes is gradually becoming more clear, one horrifying detail at a day, as more of the Duggar siblings come out to share their personal narratives with the public. And despite the fact that Josh Duggar is currently doing time in prison, the repercussions of his acts are still being felt throughout a family that previously asserted that they had all the appropriate responses.